Hey, what's up? Welcome to the first episode of 2025. And I'm not going to lie, I forgot how wavy that beat was that we bought when we first started the show. Like, I was just vibing right now because Bryan put together a new intro for the show. And we bought that beef off someone that you actually are familiar with in the New York City area.
Yes, Ghost Dave. Ghost Dave is a producer. You probably heard some of his beats on like Peter Rosenberg project, produced with some Griselda on it as well. Like he's done some really cool stuff. And if you love like just classic East Coast hip hop, he does that.
So shout out to Ghost Dave because that was actual fire. I forgot because it's been a minute since I listened to it longer
Like the
than 10
whole thing.
seconds. You know what I mean? So that was pretty dope. By the way, if you like the show, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. If you have already done that, thank you so much. You can follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. You can also find us on the audio side, wherever you get your shows, podcasts. You can find us there. Got a couple of minutes, leave a rate and review because it helps the channel grow. Haney and Ryan Garcia have agreed to come together for a rematch, but before they do that, reportedly they'll be fighting other people. Now, it's been rumored, Bryan, that Devin Haney will be fighting Jose Ramirez. But also, what weight
That's
class
one
is that
name.
in?
That's one name.
Also, yeah, also what weight class is that in? Because apparently Devin Haney said peace out to 140.
Which is why I'm second guessing that report, but we'll see.
But then at the same time, is Jose moving up? Because like, look what happened to him at 140. Look at what's happened to Jose Ramirez within the last like 2 years. He hasn't looked like the same Jose Ramirez.
Sure.
I think it'd be a mistake for Jose to go up to 147 and be real with you. But I think that's a fight that could possibly happen.
Yeah. I don't care about the Jose Ramirez piece of this, but like,
well, okay.
no, I
don't just stab me in the heart right there. Okay,
no, I don't because like I mean, Arno Barbosa fried him, and I think Devin Haney, as long as I worry. Look, we talked about Devin Haney.
It's still
already,
a tough fight, though.
Yeah, sure, but Devin Haney I'm worried about his chin going forward because I'm not sure like how he's going to recover from the not Ryan Garcia victory, but I mean, we saw what we saw, right? Ultimately. But the deal is TalkSport is reporting that they're intending to rematch each other, but it doesn't look like immediately this is going to happen right away. The thing that I have questions about, and this is why this is so murky, and this is why we don't like talking about things until they're kind of finalized, unless, of course, we know something ahead of time. But Ryan Garcia inked a deal seemingly with Turk, and Teofimo Lopez quote tweeted and was like, hey, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here because it's actually on the rundown. This folds into it. Like, is Teofimo Lopez teasing a fight with Ryan Garcia, or is he just trolling because it's Teofimo Lopez and he could do that?
No, I think
this is on the heels. This is on the heels of Bob Arum saying, "Hey, we offered Teofimo Lopez the most money possible in his career." I could pull up the exact quote, but the point of it is, we offered that money to Teofimo Lopez to fight Subriel Matias. And Teofimo Lopez allegedly balked at it. And Teofimo Lopez has been, I don't know if on the outs is too strong, but he's had a weird relationship with Top Rank over the last couple of years. And you always wonder, like, all right, when is he going to actually just end it, bolt from his contract? And is he going to join up and try to go to cross the street, so to speak? Because there's going to be money there for him. Because, I mean, there seemingly is money, never-ending money there for everybody. And like, there's a lot of questions as to where this leads, but I do think Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, the other piece of this is like there were lawsuits involved that are being put on pause because there's plans for a rematch. So we'll see what ultimately happens there. I think the rematch part to me is where I'm fascinated by. But if you're telling me that Ryan Garcia is going to fight Teofimo Lopez, which I'd be surprised if that's what's next. But if you're telling me Ryan Garcia is going to do that and Devin Haney is going to fight Jose Ramirez next, like that's just being thrown out there, right? And we don't know if that's actually going to happen. I'm not like, okay, the rematch may happen, but they could both lose going into the rematch. Like, I guess Ryan Garcia especially, but there's so many wild cards here. But the main story is that to me is that Haney Garcia 2 is an event to expect this year. And that's a rematch that's gonna be like a top 5 event of
Yeah.
2025 because last year's fight was a top 5 event of 2024.
There's so much that is in what we just talked about, right? Because you got Devin Haney coming back, and the questions about is his chin sus? What weight class is he going to fight in? Now, I'm thinking all of these guys might possibly be moving up to 147 because remember, Ryan Garcia also said he wasn't going to fight at 140 anymore. Then you got Teofimo Lopez trying to call out Bud Crawford every other day, saying he'll fight at 147 and he'll move up. And I think he means it too. Like I know Teo trolls, but I also think Teo thinks he could beat anybody. And I think he can as well. But we've never seen any of these guys at 147. We know that Ryan has power without the steroids as well. But like this is something that's really interesting because I honestly think, Brian, that Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez is arguably it's a massive fight that's just as big as Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. The only reason why there's a little bit more cachet to Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, the rematch, because of what happened in the first fight and then all the controversy. But can you imagine Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia in a presser? It'd be absolute madness between those two guys. That would be one of the biggest fights. And I think you could have that fight anywhere. I think you could have it in New York. I think you could have it in Vegas. I think you could have it in LA. I think if Turk is doing it, it will be in Saudi, but that's not the point, right?
I
Like
mean,
this
it
is,
is for some people.
yeah. I mean, I kind of talked about that early on. Like I think that's another fight that should be in the States, but this is a massive fight if it's true. Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, and I think it would be at 147. That's just as big as Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. But like, what do you think? Do you like that's a massive fight, is it not?
Yeah, because I actually think Teofimo Lopez would be a betting favorite against Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Especially considering the long layoff and while Teofimo Lopez is coming off another unspectacular performance. Like we talked about this, his run at 140 has not been awesome. You have the Sandor Martin fight where people thought that he lost. You have a couple of underwhelming performances, like the one where he put it all together with against Josh Taylor. But other than that, like he hasn't really impressed in that way outside of maybe the Pedro Campa fight. But that was a return bout against somebody that he should beat. Coming off, I think that was coming off the George Cambosos loss. Which, speaking of bad losses, like that was one that literally shifted the boxing world for a couple of years because we just got a lot of George Cambosos after that, which we've already joked about on this show. Just he milked the shit out of that all the way to a title fight with Vasily Lomachenko last year. Now it appears like that run may be over, but he might have one more big money fight in him, to be honest. So I think where this is headed is, I mean, we're going to see this rematch eventually, but how we get there, I have a lot of questions about.
And another thing is, if Ryan Garcia is coming back, like I don't think you want the first fight to be Teofimo Lopez. That's
No,
tough,
you
dude.
don't.
That's a tough ass fight. So unless Ryan Garcia plans to fight 3 times this year, I don't see that happening either. Then it'll be interesting if Ryan Garcia Teofimo Lopez does happen. I think that's one of the fights of the year. I would be more
Sure.
excited for that fight than him and Devin Haney, to be honest with you, because it's like, what are we going to see from Teofimo Lopez? I would take Teo in that fight, but at the same time, Ryan possesses like the size advantage. And we also don't know how Teo's power transcends at 147 because we haven't really seen it at 140 other than his first fight against Pedro Campa.
Whereas we saw Ryan at like 160, apparently.
And we don't even know how serious he's taking things. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
really
but
want to see.
wait. The last time we did that though, he almost knocked out Devin Haney. Like
Yeah,
Devin Haney, or Ryan Garcia actually was he was either plus 1,000 or Devin Haney was minus 1,000. So if Devin Haney was minus 1,000, then Ryan Garcia would have been like plus 720 or something
yeah,
along those
it
lines.
was
And if
crazy.
Ryan Garcia was plus 1,000, then Devin Haney would have been minus 1,300 or so, 1,250. So I think it was Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney rather, who was minus 1,000. But regardless, it was a shocking turn of events how that happened. To me, though, yeah, Ryan Garcia. If I'm Teofimo Lopez, I'd rather fight Ryan Garcia than Subriel Matias, which is where this kind of started. So
I still think they're both really tricky fights for him though. Like I wouldn't also sleep on Ryan. If Ryan was to ever like stop with the antics and take it seriously and like really put his mind to it, like he's a good fighter and he's got power and I think he can beat people like a Teofimo Lopez, but Teo is so talented, right? So it's tough. I would bet my money on Teofimo Lopez in this one. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Teofimo Lopez versus Ryan Garcia, reportedly going to possibly happen just off things we've seen on social media. What you think about Devin Haney moving up from 140, possibly fighting Jose Ramirez. Drop your comments below. Bryan, before we move away from this topic, is there anything you want to add to it?
yeah, I'd rather fight Ryan Garcia instead of Subriel Matias because if Teofimo Lopez is going to lose, not to say he'd lose to both, but if he is going to lose with more money in your pocket
Yeah.
because that fight will make a lot more money than the Subriel Matias one. I think Teofimo Lopez actually would be the betting favorite against both guys though, and I think he could beat both guys. But I see where Subriel Matias now that he's not the boogeyman anymore, so to speak, and has a loss and was outboxed by Liam Paro, like now he's definitely not going to get you
Yeah.
the same amount of money that a Ryan Garcia fight would, and he's still dangerous.
I think Subaru is very dangerous. Let's go back to Marlon 2631. When the stakes are high, Teo is clutch if he's fighting. Not so good opponents, he looks trash. That's why I believe he will beat Ryan. I do feel like
He fights to his competition. Yeah,
he definitely
I
does.
kind of buy that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's just how it's kind of like some sports teams, right? When they just like play down to their competition. That's what Teo does
Yeah.
because he's so talented. Like, that's the thing about it. I think he thinks he can beat anybody. And I wouldn't disagree with him on that. But sometimes those performances where you're fighting a Steve Claggett and everyone's like, you should knock him out. It's in Miami, it's in your backyard. And you don't get the victory the way that everyone thinks you are, then people are going to talk. But when
Yeah.
when it's on the line and people are questioning him, like the Josh Taylor fight, amazing. The
The Loma
Lomachenko
fight.
fight,
Yeah.
amazing. Like, you know what I mean? And that's why it's like he's such an interesting and an intriguing fighter that you want to see him fight. The Subriel Matias piece is interesting because I think Subriel at this point is still trying to get his name back to where it was, but he's dangerous. Like, I think he could also beat Teo. One punch can change everything, dude. And we've seen Teo being dropped before. Right?
By Sandor Martin, who is absolutely not Subriel Matias.
Subriel has power,
Yeah.
right? He has power. Like the Liam Paro fight, I don't know what happened there. You know, he just didn't look very good in that fight, and Liam Paro had a great game plan. Shout out to him. But, you know, I hope Teo wouldn't take that fight not seriously, but apparently it's not going to go down. We're going to get to that later on. Bryan, I think we can touch on it again with our new, segment, but I think we got to move on.
Maybe.